الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen. A'udhu billahi shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim, ghayril maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. Ameen. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Today, inshallah, brothers and sisters, the subject of our khutbah relates directly back to Surah Al-Fatiha. And that is imitating the disbelievers. On this day, Jumma, the 24th of Rabiul Awwal, 1444, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank Him, we ask His forgiveness, and we seek His guidance. And we believe in Him, and we do not deny Him. And we are enemies of those who reject belief in Him. We bear witness that there is no one worthy of worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, without partner. And that Muhammad is His servant and messenger, who He sent with guidance, a true deen, a light and an advice after a long gap of time, when no messengers were sent, knowledge was little, people were misguided, as the day of judgment approached. Fellow Muslims, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for everything that we do will be held accountable for. And each soul is going to come to an end at a prescribed time, and you will be dealt with according to your deeds. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Rabb of the world. And may His peace and blessing be on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his household, and his companions. Fellow Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a promise in the 65th Surah, ayahs 2-3, when He says, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your words and your deeds. For whoever fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and keeps his duty to Him, He'll provide him aware of every difficulty. He'll provide him from sources that he could never imagine. In that regard, the greatest blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed on mankind is the sending of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with a pure deen that brings all that is good to mankind and protects them from all that is evil through His principles of justice, brotherhood, freedom, and peace. I advise you, as well as myself, to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, both in times of prosperity and misfortune. in secret as well as in public. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the 21st surah the 21st ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, O mankind, worship your Lord who created you and those before you, that you may become righteous. So today's khutbah is about imitating the disbelievers. And for those of you who are not native to this country, there are many things that go on in America that you take for granted that it's okay. And you really don't realize that these things actually go against your deed. There are many things that we take for granted, and we don't realize that these things actually go against the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It requires us to know a little bit about history in order to understand how to survive in a country like the United States. And a little bit about history means, first and foremost, we must understand that in the beginning, before Islam came, that the superpower in the world was the Romans. And the Romans saw that their kingdom was breaking up, so they adopted this new religion called Christianity. Well, many people don't realize that the Romans didn't become Christians, the Christians became Romans. And many of the things that we think are part of Christianity have nothing to do with Christianity. It has to do with pagan beliefs of the Romans and the people that they conquered. Christmas, the Christmas tree, many of the things that we take for granted and we think that they are Christian have nothing to do with Christianity. So you must understand the process. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the Muslims the scientific method. He gave it to the Muslims. Because the Muslims were in, what? A period of Jahiliyyah. Meaning that the way they conducted their business was unscientific. This is what the ignorance means. You don't go through the right process. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a bunch of processes. One of the processes that he gave us is to be here today in Jumma. Another process that he gave us is spelled out in the clock that all of you see in front of you. The times to make salah. Another process that he put in place was Ramadan. Another process that he put in place was the Hajj and the Umrah. These are all processes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in place uniquely for people who believe, for the Muslims. Now we come here. You know, they said the brothers, when they supposedly blew up the World Trade Center with those airplanes, they went to Las Vegas. Right? To have a good time before they went out and did the deed that they did. And to this day, if what they say is true, I said these people weren't Muslims. Who would go to the place where gambling is not only permitted but encouraged? Who would go to the place where fornication is not only permitted but encouraged just before they decided to martyr themselves and take away the life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given them? Who would do that? No Muslim. No Muslim would do that. It never made sense. But if I was what? If I was a non-Muslim and I wanted to get the best out of what I think the dunya has to provide, if I don't believe in akhirah, if I don't believe in the next life, then I would have done that. Let me get a little bit of enjoyment, right? Before I do this deed. This is what non-Muslims would have done. There are many things that the disbelievers do that we have, very little knowledge of. We take for granted that it's okay. I stress the calendar. And many of you said, well, what's wrong with this brother? He keeps bringing up this calendar. The calendar is a foundation system. It is a way that we keep time. If it wasn't important, why would the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his last khutbah talk about the calendar? Talk about the months of the year. Why would he do that? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wasn't like Bryant mentioned. When he spoke in very comprehensive ways. He didn't waste any words. He didn't have to stumble and mumble like I do. Right? So why would he talk about something that wasn't important? Why would he mention that the shape of time had returned to the shape of the original foundation? Why would he mention that? Because it's important. Because based on the calendar, one of the systems that are important to the Muslims of making salah, right? One of the most foundation systems. They say if you don't make your salah, then that basically invalidates your Islam. That's how important making salah is. See? During the time of Abu Bakr, some of the people decided that they no longer wanted to give zakat. And Abu Bakr fought those people. Why? Because you are making a distinction between what? Salah and zakat. And he said there can't be any distinction. He said you have to stand your ground. Right? And he looked at Umar, who was the person who would always be the most aggressive. And he tried to get him to do what? Well, calm down. Why don't you give him a little air? Why don't you let him think that? He said, no. He stood his ground. And as a result of standing his ground, he held the Ummah together. The principles of Islam were so important. See, he was the person that understood the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam better than anybody else. He was the person that was in the cave with him. He was the person one of the first mature people to become a Muslim. So he understood the Prophet Muhammad. He was his friend and all of those things. When the Kuffar said, hey man, your partner is saying that he went up and visited heaven. He went on a night visit. And what did he ask? Did he say that? He said, if he said it, then I believe him. This is the level of Imam that Abu Bakr Siddiq had. May Allah be pleased with him. He stood his ground. See? Today, the United States has problems with one of what we call an Islamic country. And they try to entice us to get involved in the Sunni Shia fitna, right? By talking about, these people say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, a whole country. And they're fighting against the world. Everybody in the world is in opposition to these people. And one of the things that they're fighting against is whether or not the women should cover themselves. Right? Now, the person that they revere, the Christians, right? Miriam, may Allah be pleased with her. If you see any picture of her depiction, she's covered. This is considered to be a saint. Right? But they want our women and the women of the world to walk around and look like Beyonce. Beyonce, her own husband, billionaire, both of them billionaires. She just won, 9 Academy or whatever they call them trophies, as many as her husband won. These people, they hold them up. But her husband lets her go on stage half naked. So that you and I, if we happen to turn the TV on that day, and is on that station, we'll be looking at his wife and lusting after his wife. And they say, that's fine. That's the way it should be. But the Muslims say, no, we should first of all lower your gaze. So first of all, as soon as it comes on TV, I got to turn it off. I don't just lower my, I got to turn that TV off. I got to change the channel. Because I might look up again and see something else. First of all. So we cannot imitate the disbelievers. But we imitate the disbelievers in ways that we don't know. This is the reason why it's so important for us to study our deen. We have to study our deen. We have to understand our deen. For example, we have a famous basketball player who said he became Muslim. A person named Kyrie Irving. He goes around saying the world is flat. Why? Because of his misunderstanding of the ayahs of the Quran. See? There are multiple definitions in certain phrases. The first definition says that the earth is laid out. Right? Laid out. But if you read further, it says that the earth is the shape of an ostrich egg. And science has confirmed that this earth is not completely round. It looks like an ostrich egg. But he didn't know that. He didn't know that because he was ignorant. And so he has a big microphone. Right? And people listen to him. He got millions of followers. And here he is saying something where he's totally ignorant of his deen. Thinking that he's doing what? Fighting against the non-believers. But when you fight against the non-believers, right, you must have your facts straight. You must understand fully what it is you're doing. You know, we go out and give dawah and we say something incorrect, right? You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us a question in the Quran when he refers to the creation of the heavens and the earth. He says, don't the unbelievers know? He's saying they know it. That the earth and the heavens was one unit, and we rented asunder. This is the English translation. You brothers know it better than the Arabic. But what is he saying? He's saying these people studied. We gave them the scientific method 1,400 years ago. They used the scientific method to disprove Christianity because of all of the flaws in that book, which we know are there, right? And then we're going to turn around and allow them to use the same scientific method that we gave to them to disprove Islam. If we don't study our deen, if we don't stand our ground, right? We have to stand our ground. When Allah tells us to do something, we have to be able to explain why. You know, that's like I tell the young brothers a couple of times, a couple of khutbahs ago. If somebody tells you in school to do something and your parents told you you shouldn't do it, and then when they say, well, come on, brother, you should do this. It's having fun. You should say no. Why? And then they'll say, why can't you do it? He said, because I have a book, which is my criteria, the Furqan. And my book says this is wrong. This is haram. I can do other things with you. I can play soccer with you. I can go to the library with you. I might even be able to go to certain movies with you. But I can't do this. Because my book, my criteria, the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, right, says this is wrong. We have to be able to stand our ground. If we don't stand our ground, then we will imitate the disbelievers. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us understand. Alhamdulillah. We had a very good conversation this morning at Fajr, the brothers that came. And one of the brothers, you know, they were telling me I'm mispronouncing words in Arabic. And he told me what I mispronounced. He says, when you say at the end of the khutbah, in English I'm going to say, come to salah. But sometimes when I say it in the past tense. See, I didn't even know it was a present in past tense. And he says, well, when you say it in the past tense, the brother thinks salat's over. And then he tried to teach me. Now, you got to remember now, I'm an old man. and they talk about teaching an old man new tricks, I'm going to stick to the English. I'm going to say, come to Salah in the present tense, so that I won't make that mistake. But then we went further. And then he said, one of the brothers said, he said, yeah, on Friday, because they were wondering, why are you giving this up? Why are you giving the khutbah? This was the nature of the conversation. And I said, well, I don't want to give it. But when he said Friday, I said, this is why I'm giving it. Because you don't understand that when you say the word Friday, right, and don't think about what you're saying, that you're talking about a totally different system. The system that the Romans put in place, right? Friday is the basis of a goddess of love. That's why the people go to the nightclub. Some of you Muslim young brothers, y'all be sneaking in the nightclub with them. And this is what they do. Why do they go to the nightclubs on this day? The tradition goes back thousands of years. What are they looking for when they go to the nightclub? They're looking for love. That's what they say. They end up with lust if they have anything, but they're looking for love. Now, how do I know so much about that? Because I was here. I did all those things. See, when the brothers, I said, well, look, brother, you don't understand the nature of this country. See, one of the young brothers that's in here, they might be 12, 10, 12 years old. They're going to understand fully the nature of this country and hopefully this deen. I ask one of the young brothers every time I see him, when are you going to replace me? And he looks at me and smiles. He thinks I'm joking. See? We have to understand what? Both our deen as well as the circumstances and the environment which we're in. You have to study both. Just can't go over there and pick up the Quran and read it and then not understand how to implement the principles of the Quran here in America, right, on the 24th of what? Of 1444. And not know how to implement it. See? You don't just read the Quran just as a pastime. You read the Quran so that you can implement it today. Words matter. Me and the brother was talking. And we was joking. And I happened to hear, when you get my age, you tend to listen. And he said something. He was talking to someone. And he used the term. And I said, wait, hey, brother, is that what you really mean? See? I said, that term that you just used, my wife, doesn't apply to you. You're no longer married. Are you married or you're not married? And we laughed. And we walked out and we said, words matter. Words matter, actions matter. See, if you're going to be a Muslim, be a Muslim. They don't care what you are in America. Let me make sure you guys understand it so you can throw away your fear. In America, you could be anything. You can walk around with a clown suit on all day. It don't make no difference. Right? They fear the collective action of the Muslims. Individually, brother like that, he can walk out there now dressed like nobody can look at it. Why? Because everybody out there is dressed all kinds of ways. Right? You go over to the university, you got some girls with pink hair, some with red hair, some with gold hair, some with yellow hair, some in their hair. You have to ask them, is that your hair? No, that's mine. I bought it, I paid for it, so it's mine. I caution all of you, and I end the khutbah with this. Don't make sure that you're not inadvertently imitating the non-believers. Be a Muslim. This is the most important thing. If you want this country to last, the only way it's going to last another 200 years is you, Muslims. Otherwise, it's going to fall just like Rome fell, just like Greece fell, just like all the other kingdoms fell before. The only thing that's going to save America is the people in this room. They can't save themselves. President Biden is a Roman Catholic. Is it a coincidence that President Biden was the person who said that homosexuality was okay? It's not a coincidence. Because the Romans and the Greeks said that homosexuality was okay. That's not a coincidence. See? Barack Obama wasn't Catholic. First of all, they didn't know what he was. They first said he was Muslim. And then he ate a pork sandwich to prove that he wasn't. Drank some beer, right? So he proved, I'm not a Muslim. Remember he got in trouble with his minister? The minister the church that he went to, remember he got in trouble? He had to back away from that. And then what happened? And he followed Biden. What did President Biden tell him? You know, as long as people love each other, it's okay. And now, like the brother said this morning, you know, what he said to me was, the worst thing that's happening now is homosexuality. That's not the worst thing. The worst thing is the process and the systems that got us here. See? We gave them, again, the scientific method. They took the scientific method and they disproved Christianity. Their book. It has too many errors. It couldn't stand up on its own. See? The only book on earth that can stand up to the scientific method is the Quran. If we throw that away, then we only have one choice, and that is to be like that. It's the only choice we have. Because that's the path that they're on. So I ask us all to reflect on what I have said. I ask us all to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will give us strength to improve our iman and to implement Islam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help all of the Muslims all over the world. Keep us. Oh, astaghfirullah. Come to Salah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله